Here's a YouTube article on the 1951 Nissan Patrol, written as a cinematic, documentary-style script. It highlights the history, design, and impact of the model without mentioning handling condition, staying focused on storytelling and historical significance. Nissan Patrol 1951, the legendary origin of Japan's off-road icon. In the dusty post-war roads of 1951, as Japan began to rebuild its identity, a vehicle emerged, not sleek or glamorous but rugged and determined. A boxy silhouette, a humble badge, and a mission that would take it across deserts, jungles, and borders. That vehicle was the Nissan Patrol 4W60, and it would go on to become one of the most respected names in the world of 4x4s. Before it rivaled Land Cruisers, before it roamed the Middle East and African plains, and before it became a symbol of unstoppable strength, it started here. With this one model, this is the story of the 1951 Nissan Patrol. The beginning of an icon. A journey born from necessity. And a legacy that still conquers landscapes today. A nation in transition, post-war Japan and the need for mobility. The early 1950s were a time of transformation in Japan. Still recovering from the devastation of World War II, the country was rebuilding its infrastructure, economy, and industrial capacity. One of the critical needs. Transportation. Durable, all-terrain, dependable transportation. The United States, through its military presence in Japan, brought with it the Willys Jeep, a machine that had proven its mettle in war. The Jeep quickly inspired admiration, especially for its ability to reach remote and rugged terrain. The Japanese government saw the need for a domestic equivalent, something reliable, made at home, and capable of reaching the country's remotest regions. Enter Nissan, the birth of the 4W60, a functional force. In 1951, Nissan introduced the 4W60 Patrol, its first mass-produced four-wheel drive utility vehicle. It was inspired heavily by the Willys Jeep but with a unique Japanese twist. Rugged, simple, utilitarian, this machine wasn't made to impress. It was made to serve. Some early observers saw the 4W60 as an almost militaristic design, boxy, upright, purposeful. But beneath that industrial skin was a vehicle designed to go anywhere, in any condition. It featured a cabin that seated 5 with a steel body over a ladder frame chassis. A 3.7L 6-cylinder engine, borrowed and adapted from Nissan's lineup. A part-time four-wheel drive system, marking Nissan's first step into off-road territory. What it lacked in polish, it made up for in resilience. Design for function, the practical aesthetic. The 4W60's design philosophy was clear: function over form. There were no curves, no flourishes, no pretension. Just flat panels, tall ground clearance, and oversized fenders. It looked like a vehicle drawn by engineers, not stylists, and that was entirely the point. From the split windshield to the minimal front grille, every feature was utilitarian. The interior was bare bones, just the essentials: a steering wheel, gear selector, basic gauges, and durable materials. No frills, no distractions. Its very appearance told you this was a machine that didn't care how it looked, only where it could go. Government, military and industry, the first clients. The initial buyers of the 1951 Nissan Patrol weren't private citizens. They were government agencies, infrastructure companies, and military divisions. Japan's post-war reconstruction efforts meant reaching inaccessible areas, mountain regions, construction zones, and emerging national highways. The Patrol proved invaluable here. It was soon deployed in roles like utility transport for engineers and road crews, emergency service deployment in remote areas, light military and police use, forestry and agriculture in undeveloped zones. The Patrol wasn't just a vehicle. It was a tool of rebuilding, mobility, and progress. The Patrol name, a symbol, is born. Interestingly, the 4W60 wasn't initially called Patrol in marketing material. But the Patrol name quickly caught on, especially as exports began. By 1953, the model was officially known as the Nissan Patrol, marking the beginning of a nameplate that would become synonymous with endurance and off-road prowess. The name was no accident. Patrol evoked ideas of territory, duty, watchfulness, exactly what the vehicle did. It patrolled the edges of civilization, explored the unknown, and made the inaccessible reachable. It wasn't a lifestyle vehicle. It was a working partner, built for dirt, rock, snow, and sweat. Export ambitions, taking Patrol global. In 1952, just a year after its launch, Nissan began exporting the Patrol to selected markets. This included Australia, where rugged terrain demanded capable vehicles. South American countries, needing utility in mountainous regions. Parts of Africa and the Middle East. In these places, the Patrol's strength, simplicity, and reliability quickly earned a following. Farmers, government workers, and adventurers embraced it. In some regions, it would eventually become a cultural icon, a symbol of resilience, much like its rival, the Toyota Land Cruiser. But in 1951, this was still the beginning. The 4W61 and 4W65, the evolution begins. The original 4W60 laid the foundation, but soon, Nissan sought to improve it. The 4W61, launched in 1955, featured a restyled front grille, updated badging, and a more powerful engine. By 1958, the 4W65 introduced a redesigned body with smoother contours and improved reliability. These early evolutions retained the core DNA of the 4W60 but added refinement, better parts availability, and minor comforts to attract more buyers, both domestic and international. Through each version, the Patrol became more than a utility, it became a brand. The forgotten hero of 4x4 history. While the Land Cruiser would go on to dominate many global markets, the Patrol quietly built a legacy of its own, especially in regions where durability mattered more than brand recognition. It was in places like the Middle East, where Patrols eventually became sand-conquering legends. Australia, where their toughness in rural zones was legendary. South America, where they served in jungles and mines. But at the heart of all this international respect was the humble 1951 model, the 4W60, that started it all. It wasn't the flashiest, it wasn't the fastest, but it was one of the toughest. Legacy in design, influence across decades. Even today, elements of the 1951 Patrol live on in Nissan's current design language. The upright stance, the commanding presence, the association with exploration and durability. The modern Nissan Patrol, whether in its plush SUV form or rugged off-road variants, still carries the torch of its ancestor. What began as a basic utility vehicle became a global platform that competed with the best. From oil fields to sand dunes, forests to city streets, the Patrol name is now synonymous with strength. And it all traces back to one model, built in a post-war factory with vision, resolve, and steel. Conclusion: more than a machine, a movement. The 1951 Nissan Patrol may not be as famous as its descendants or as flashy as modern SUVs. But in its raw, uncompromising form, it represents something greater. It represents a moment when Japan re-entered the world stage with innovation, integrity, and purpose. It represents how a vehicle can go beyond transportation, how it can become a partner, a pioneer, a legend. It represents the start of a journey that continues to evolve with every new generation of Nissan Patrols. So the next time you see a gleaming modern Patrol thundering across the desert or cruising through a city, remember. It all began with a steel box on wheels, built in 1951, ready for anything. That is the legacy of the Nissan Patrol 4W60. The legend that started it all. Would you like me to create a matching YouTube title, description, and hashtags for this article as well?